Hey guys, so in this video I'm gonna basically stipple my P-10C. I stippled my flat dark earth one, figured out what not to do, and so hopefully I'll do this one correctly. On the last one, I removed the nubs by heating up this tip and just dragging it across and smoothing it out. And the problem with doing that is when it melts one of the nubs, it kind of folds it over and you get this thin layer of melted plastic, but it doesn't really bond to the original plastic. So then when you go in and stipple it, that thin layer would basically burn and discolor. So I'd have this, it looked like, I just picked it up with really dirty hands and gotten it all nasty. So not a big deal, but it didn't look very good. So this time around, I'm just using a really sharp razor and just knocking each one of these nubs off. Once I do that, I'll go in with some sandpaper and just sand it smooth. And after I do that, I'm going to lay out the outline for the stippling, and then I'll basically just fill everything in. So this is just the basically the prep stage. And I apologize for the lighting. I'm doing this in my garage, so I don't have my light box set up. So it's going to be kind of hard to see, unfortunately, but. Alright, you know what? It's going to be easier to get to all these nubs if I take this off. So I'm going to take this off. I'm just going around the outside edges first. That way I'm cutting in, so if I slip, I just slip into the stuff I'm going to cut anyway. I'm just trying to avoid this area. I'm going to leave this back area here smooth just so my shirt can kind of slide over it. Plus my hand doesn't really get to that part anyway, so I can just leave this bottom area smooth. Alright, so I'm going to start stippling my borders. So the first thing I need to do is mask everything off again. So one thing I use is a bean bag just to rest my hand on. It elevates my hand up so I'm at a better angle. For borders, I like to use a shading tip on my wood burner. Because of the angle, it lets me really see where the point is, and it's also really fine. And I've got some sandpaper here just to kind of clean the tip off as I go. I tend to move to get really close to my work when I do this, so if my head blocks the camera, I apologize. Alright, so now I'm just going to border around the logo. If I screw it up, I can cut the logo off. But I'm sitting on a bucket, so not exactly comfortable, but this is one of the hardest areas to do because it's just a weird reach. You got to kind of angle around everything. So what I'm doing is just cutting thin strips of my blue painter's tape with a razor. It just makes it easier to bend the tape around the curves of the gun. Straight lines are no problem. Curves are a pain, so going to switch to a different point. Normally I would use that same point and just do a really small, fine pattern of just individual dots. But that is going to take forever, and I'm thinking something more like that, kind of this golf ball-y pattern. So this is the first time I've tried this pattern, so I might totally screw it up, who knows. I guess I'll try it in an area that I can easily kind of repair. All right, hopefully you guys can see this. Trying to get a closer view of what I'm doing. Unfortunately, the lighting in this garage is pretty tough, so to keep it looking random, instead of just, filling in the dots like that and making straight lines, what I like to do is kind of make a rough section and then fill it in. So one thing to take note of is if you have an area that maybe you didn't fill in all the way, so let's say like this area right here, I can hit it a few more times. Instead of immediately going back and hitting the same spot over and over again, if you do that, you're going to heat this area up, and you end up getting it kind of melts, and you get these globs. So a better thing to do is to just move on to another spot, and then come back a little bit later after it's cooled. Otherwise, it'll get so soft that instead of the tip just kind of pressing down, you'll slide. And once you slide, you'll make a gouge in it, and then it's even harder to kind of fix. So yeah, I'll just fill an area in, kind of rough it in, and then just kind of look for spots that don't have a divot and fill it in.